All your lunches? You mean you eat other people's lunches? Stop!
Arnold Schwarzenegger has worn many titles in his life: bodybuilder, action hero, politician, businessman. But beneath the muscles and the fame, he has always been a student of cinema. In a quiet studio conversation, he once opened up about the movies that shaped him, not just as an actor, but as a human being. His choices weren't limited to action-packed thrillers or tough guy westerns. Instead, his list reflected a wide range of genres: science fiction, musicals, romances, and even comedies. To Arnold, a great film was never about who it was aimed at. It was about the universal experience. As he explained, it doesn't matter, women, men, young, old, everybody could enjoy a truly great movie. That perspective makes his list fascinating. These films aren't just technical achievements or box office titans. They represent moments that touched Arnold deeply, either inspiring his own performances or reminding him of home. From the raw grit of Clint Eastwood's westerns to the tender humanity of Spielberg's storytelling, Schwarzenegger's picks reveal a man who sees movies not just as entertainment, but as lessons in life. So let's count them down one by one and discover the 7 films Arnold Schwarzenegger calls his very favorites. Number 7, Kindergarten Cop, 1990.
I would like to just get to know you.
When most people think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, they picture the granite-faced action hero from the Terminator or Predator. But for Arnold himself, one of his most cherished projects was Kindergarten Cop. Released in 1990 and directed by Ivan Reitman, the film was a turning point. It gave Arnold the chance to step away from machine guns and explosions and instead show audiences that he could make them laugh. In the movie, Schwarzenegger plays Detective John Kimball, a hard-nosed cop who goes undercover as a kindergarten teacher to track down a dangerous criminal. The setup is funny enough, but what makes it work is how Arnold throws himself into the role with surprising vulnerability. One moment he's trying to maintain his tough, commanding presence, and the next he's losing control of a classroom full of screaming 5-year-olds. The tension between Kimball's duty as a cop and his reluctant discovery of compassion creates the film's heart. There's a scene where Kimball finally earns the respect of his class, not by shouting or intimidating them, but by connecting with them. That shift reflects something Arnold clearly valued: the idea that strength isn't just physical power, it's patience, empathy, and humor. Years later, he admitted that this project meant a lot to him. On The Late Late Show, he confessed, "I think Kindergarten Cop is my favorite. One of the comedies would be my favorite, because for so many years, I tried to get into comedy, and I couldn't." Working with Ivan Reitman and Danny DeVito, Arnold felt like he was finally breaking new ground. He described himself as being in heaven while making the film. What's fascinating about Kindergarten Cop is how it redefined Schwarzenegger's image. Until then, he was known as the unstoppable killing machine. But this film showed audiences, and maybe even Arnold himself, that he didn't have to be typecast. He could poke fun at his own toughness while still delivering moments of seriousness. The undercover cop angle gave the comedy real stakes, balancing laughter with a sense of danger. It also made a larger point about balancing work and responsibility with care and compassion. For Kimball, protecting children meant more than chasing criminals. It meant understanding them. For Arnold, that mirrored his own evolution as a performer, moving beyond the one-note action hero into someone who could carry drama, comedy, and family stories all at once. Arnold once joked that making people laugh was even harder than blowing things up on screen. Watching Kindergarten Cop, you can see why. But maybe that's also why the movie remains so important to him. It proved that he could be more than just the Terminator. Number 6, Westworld, 1973.
Ready on 6, on 5, on 4, on 3, on 2. Activate now.
Arnold Schwarzenegger has often said that some of the most influential movies in his life weren't the ones he starred in, but the ones that shaped his imagination long before Hollywood came calling. Westworld, Michael Crichton's 1973 sci-fi western, was one of those films. On the surface, it's a futuristic thriller about a high-tech amusement park where lifelike robots entertain guests until the system inevitably malfunctions. But for Arnold, it was more than just entertainment. It was a vision that sparked his approach to one of his most iconic roles. At the heart of Westworld is Yul Brynner's performance as the Gunslinger, a relentless robot cowboy whose cold stare and mechanical determination made him unforgettable. In one of the film's most chilling sequences, Brenner's gunslinger silently stalks the human protagonist through corridors and desert landscapes, refusing to stop, refusing to feel, refusing to die. For a young Schwarzenegger, that was the blueprint for cinematic menace. Years later, when cast as the Terminator, Arnold admitted, "My character is in some ways like the Yul Brynner character. My approach to the Terminator is partly based on what Brynner did in that role." He went even further, telling Rotten Tomatoes that Westworld just had the most profound impact on me. What got me to be really interested in playing the Terminator. That kind of honesty shows how much he absorbed from watching great actors at work. Brynner's blank intensity, the calculated stillness, and the aura of inevitability became hallmarks of Arnold's own performance style. What makes this even more fascinating is how Westworld explored ideas far ahead of its time. The film raises questions about artificial intelligence, corporate greed, and the danger of creating technology we can't control. Decades later, those same questions echo louder than ever. Schwarzenegger, who built a career playing machines and men wrestling with technology, clearly saw the significance. It wasn't just that Brynner inspired his Terminator performance.
Registrations find release.
It was that Westworld demonstrated how science fiction could tap into real fears and ethical dilemmas. Arnold has often emphasized how art inspires art, and Westworld is a perfect example. Without Brynner's gunslinger, we might never have seen Arnold as the cold, unstoppable figure who redefined science fiction in the 1980s. In that sense, Westworld isn't just a film he admires, it's a film that helped shape his destiny. Could it be that the cautionary tale of Westworld is even more relevant now than it was in 1973? After all, technology keeps moving forward, and like Arnold, we're all left wondering what happens when our creations start to chase us. Number 5. Unforgiven, 1992.
Here a little, just for a minute. Was you ever scared in them days?
I can't remember.
For Arnold Schwarzenegger, Clint Eastwood wasn't just another Hollywood star. He was an idol. Long before Arnold became a household name, he studied Eastwood's career with admiration. So when Eastwood released Unforgiven in 1992, a raw revisionist western that dismantled the myths of heroism and gunfighting, Arnold paid close attention. He later explained that Eastwood was an idol of mine. I always idolized him since before I came over to America. Tremendously skilled as a producer, as a director, the acting, the directing, everything. The film tells the story of William Money, a retired gunfighter pulled back into violence for one last job. Money isn't the noble gunslinger of classic westerns. He's a broken man, haunted by his past, and every pull of the trigger carries a heavy cost. One of the most powerful scenes comes near the end, when Money stands in the rain, his shotgun aimed at the saloon keeper who ordered a brutal punishment. His voice shakes as he declares, "That's right, I've killed women and children. I've killed just about everything that walks or crawls at one time or another. And I'm here to kill you." It's not a triumphant speech, it's an admission of the darkness inside him. For Schwarzenegger, who had built his career playing nearly indestructible heroes, Unforgiven represented something different. The acknowledgement that strength has limits, and that violence always leaves scars. By the early 90s, Arnold himself was moving into more nuanced roles. He was no longer just the Terminator or the Commando, he was experimenting with comedy, family films, and characters with moral complexity. Watching Eastwood embrace age, vulnerability, and regret on screen may have encouraged Arnold to think about how he too could grow as an actor. The movie also struck a chord because of its broader message. It isn't about celebrating violence, but questioning its cost. The so-called glory of the Old West crumbles under Eastwood's lens, revealing only blood, guilt, and survival. For an Austrian-born immigrant who carved out his life in America, Schwarzenegger could appreciate how Unforgiven challenged myths and confronted hard truths. It's no surprise he added this as an extra pick on his list of favorites.
Become a leading man, and they said, forget about it, Arnold. I mean, we like you when you open up a health food store or something like that, but you can never become a leading man because if an
Arnold, Unforgiven wasn't just another great movie. It was a masterclass in aging gracefully in Hollywood, while still telling powerful stories. It reminded him, and all of us, that heroes don't stay young forever, but their struggles can become even more meaningful as they grow older. Number 4. Titanic, 1997. When James Cameron's Titanic premiered in 1997, it became more than a film. It was a global event. Audiences lined up for repeat viewings, critics praised its technical wizardry, and it swept the Oscars. For Arnold Schwarzenegger, though, the movie stood out for reasons beyond the spectacle. He admired how Cameron fused breathtaking visuals with an emotional story that could move anyone. Speaking about the film, Arnold once said it had visual effects, personal stories, the character's development, the action, and then the end. The emotional roller coaster ride was, and the music, everything was a straight 10. At the heart of the movie is the love story between Jack and Rose, set against one of the greatest tragedies of the 20th century. But what struck Schwarzenegger was how the film didn't let the disaster overshadow the human stories. He praised Cameron's ability to create both intimacy and grandeur, to show the terror of a sinking ship alongside the tender moments of two young lovers. The balance of heart and spectacle is something Arnold has always respected in filmmaking. One of the most haunting sequences comes as the Titanic begins to sink, panic spreading across the decks. Families are separated, lifeboats are lowered, and the ship groans as water pours in.
Let's answer the question.
This is absurd. You don't know me and I don't know you, and we are not having this conversation at all. You are rude and uncouth and presumptuous, and I...
Amid the chaos, Jack and Rose cling to one another, clinging also to hope. For Schwarzenegger, this wasn't just movie magic. It was a lesson in how cinema can make an audience feel both awe and heartbreak at the same time. Arnold's respect for Cameron runs deep. Having worked with him on the Terminator and True Lies, Arnold knew firsthand the relentless precision Cameron brought to his projects. Watching Titanic, he saw not only a technical achievement, but also a story that resonated universally. He understood how difficult it is to marry cutting-edge effects with emotional authenticity, and in Titanic, Cameron pulled it off at the highest level. For Schwarzenegger, who has always valued films that could entertain women, men, young, old, Titanic fit that ideal perfectly. It wasn't just for action fans, history buffs, or romantics. It was for everyone. That universality is likely why he placed it among his favorites. But it also raises an interesting thought. Does the emotional impact of Titanic come more from the sweeping love story, or from the stark reminder that this tragedy really happened? Maybe it's both, and maybe that's why the film continues to resonate nearly 3 decades later. Number 3. The Sound of Music, 1965.
Captain, you're home!
Few films could strike as personal a chord with Arnold Schwarzenegger as The Sound of Music. 1965, this Rodgers and Hammerstein classic wasn't just another Hollywood musical. It was a film set in Arnold's own homeland of Austria, showcasing the landscapes, traditions, and history he grew up around. For a young Austrian watching his country appear so beautifully on screen, it was more than entertainment. It was a source of pride. Schwarzenegger has spoken warmly about how the film represented Austria to the world. He once reflected, "It's Austria. The music, the look of it. It sold my homeland visually in such a spectacular way." For him, seeing the sweeping hills, the Baroque architecture, and the familiar alpine scenery elevated the film into something deeply personal. It wasn't just about Maria and the Von Trapp family, it was about Austria's spirit being projected onto the global stage. The story itself carries heavy themes. Beneath the charming songs and the lively family dynamic lies the shadow of the Nazi regime. One of the most serious moments comes as the Von Trapps escape across the Alps, risking everything to avoid oppression. The courage, faith, and unity required to make such a journey resonated deeply with Schwarzenegger, who had grown up hearing about the hardships of World War II in his own family and community. As an immigrant who left Austria to pursue the American dream, Arnold could also connect with the themes of departure and reinvention. Just as the Von Trapps left their homeland to survive and create a new life, Schwarzenegger left Graz for California, carrying his heritage but forging a new path. That parallel is part of why the film's message stayed with him. Beyond its cultural connection, The Sound of Music is also a masterclass in balancing light and dark. Joyful songs like Do Re Mi and My Favorite Things stand alongside moments of real danger and loss. For Arnold, who has always valued films that appeal across generations, this mixture of innocence and seriousness likely explained the film's enduring appeal. He even took the time to visit several of the filming locations, underscoring just how much the movie meant to him. It wasn't just cinema, it was personal history on screen. Looking back, it's easy to see why Arnold would include this musical among his favorites. It wasn't just that it was beautifully made, it was that it reflected his homeland with pride and gave the world a story about courage, family, and resilience. Number 2, The Godfather, 1972. If there's one film that seems to appear on nearly every greatest movies list, it's Francis Ford Coppola's The Godfather. For Arnold Schwarzenegger, it isn't just a cinematic masterpiece, it's one of his personal favorites. He has praised it for being, without any doubt, one of the best, and admired its ability to combine story and action while giving audiences characters so real they feel like family. The movie tells the story of the Corleone clan, a powerful mafia family navigating loyalty, betrayal, and the shifting balance of power. What fascinated Schwarzenegger wasn't just the action, but how every violent act had weight, consequence, and emotional depth. This wasn't action for spectacle. It was storytelling that exposed the human cost of ambition and power. One of the most unforgettable scenes is Michael Corleone's transformation from reluctant war hero into cold-blooded mafia boss. Sitting in an Italian restaurant, he calmly excuses himself, retrieves a hidden gun, and executes 2 enemies at point-blank range. The moment is shocking, not just for the violence, but because we witness Michael's final step into the world he swore he'd avoid. For Arnold, who spent his career embodying strength and power on screen, this kind of storytelling showed how character development could be just as gripping as explosions or gunfights. He also admired the way the film blended family drama with crime saga. The characters are layered, flawed, vulnerable, yet unforgettable. Vito Corleone, played by Marlon Brando, embodies both tenderness and ruthlessness. Michael, portrayed by Al Pacino, represents the corruption of ideals. For Schwarzenegger, this level of complexity was inspiring. He has often said that the most successful films are those where audiences remember not just the action, but the characters. The Godfather gave him a clear example of how to achieve that balance. The film also spoke to Arnold as an immigrant. Like the Corleones, he came to America and built a life in a world that wasn't always welcoming. While he didn't follow a criminal path, he could relate to the themes of family loyalty, survival, and carving out power in a foreign land. Arnold's respect for The Godfather reflects his larger philosophy about movies. That action means little without story. Watching Michael Corleone's journey, you see how narrative, performance, and tension elevate a film from good to legendary. It's hard not to ask, did The Godfather redefine what an action drama could be? And has any modern film truly rivaled its perfect blend of story and violence? Number 1. E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, 1982. When Arnold Schwarzenegger revealed his number 1 favorite movie, he didn't pick an action-packed thriller or a gritty drama. Instead, he chose Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, a film that touched hearts around the world when it premiered in 1982. For Arnold, the choice said a lot about how he views cinema, not as a collection of explosions and fights, but as a universal language of emotion and wonder. At its core, E.T. tells the story of a lonely boy, Elliot, who befriends an alien stranded on Earth. What begins as a tale of curiosity and friendship turns into a deeply moving meditation on love, loyalty, and letting go. The most powerful moment comes at the end, when Elliot tearfully says goodbye to E.T. as the spaceship prepares to leave. His voice cracks as he whispers, "I'll be right here," touching his heart. For many audiences, it was the first time a film made them cry. For Schwarzenegger, it was proof of cinema's ability to reach across age, culture, and background. He praised E.T. as a whole new way of entertaining and called Spielberg's work spectacular. What impressed him most was how the movie could resonate with absolutely anyone. As he explained, the film was for everyone to enjoy regardless of age or gender. That inclusivity, that universal accessibility, was what made it his #1. The movie also struck a personal note. Arnold, who had left Austria to chase the American dream, understood what it meant to feel like an outsider. E.T.'s longing to return home mirrors the feeling of displacement that many immigrants, including Arnold, have felt at one time or another. It was a story about finding belonging, even in the unlikeliest places. From a filmmaking perspective, E.T. was groundbreaking. Spielberg's ability to combine childlike wonder with emotional realism inspired generations of directors, and Arnold clearly saw the significance. He admired how the film was filled with thrilling chases, comedic moments, and tender family drama, all while keeping its emotional core intact. Choosing E.T. as his top favorite reminds us that beneath Schwarzenegger's larger-than-life persona lies a man who values connection above all. He might have built his career on tough characters and explosive action, but his heart gravitates towards stories of friendship, humanity, and hope. And maybe that's why E.T. endured.
Look what he brought up here all by himself. What's he need this stuff for? E.T., can you say that? Can you say E.T.? E.T.
E.T.
It's not just about a boy and an alien. It's about the simple truth that love and loyalty can transcend worlds. Isn't it remarkable how the smallest, quietest stories often end up being the ones that stay with us the longest? Looking over Arnold Schwarzenegger's list of favorite films, what stands out isn't just the titles themselves, but what they reveal about him as a person. He didn't choose only the kinds of movies he was famous for: high-octane action, muscle-bound heroes, or larger-than-life battles. Instead, his list is a mix of comedy, westerns, musicals, romance, gangster epics, and family-friendly science fiction. It shows a man who, beneath the tough exterior, has always been drawn to the emotional core of storytelling. Kindergarten Cop proved that comedy and vulnerability could be just as powerful as brute strength. Westworld inspired his approach to the Terminator and demonstrated how science fiction could be deeply philosophical. Unforgiven reminded him that heroes grow older and must wrestle with regret. Titanic impressed him with its balance of human drama and epic spectacle, while The Sound of Music spoke directly to his Austrian roots and sense of homeland pride. The Godfather showed him how action and story could merge into timeless drama, and E.T. became the ultimate example of cinema's power to connect across cultures, ages, and backgrounds. Together, these choices reveal a thoughtful cinephile who sees films as more than entertainment. They are lessons, inspirations, and reminders of what connects us. It's striking that an actor known for roles where words were often few and explosions were many would place such value on character development, emotion, and universal themes. Arnold's list also reminds us of the larger truth about movies. The ones we carry with us are not always the biggest or flashiest, but the ones that make us feel something lasting. And in sharing his favorites, Arnold gave us a glimpse of what moves him, what inspires him, and what he believes makes a film truly great. So maybe the next time you sit down to watch a movie, you'll think of Arnold's words, that it doesn't matter who you are, young or old, man or woman, a great film is for everyone to enjoy.